As the war between Ukraine and Russia continues to unfold, Russian strategic assets are coming under increasing pressure from Ukrainian forces. Among the most crucial of these assets are Russia's military infrastructure, including air bases, refineries, oil depots, and ammunition storage sites. Of particular note is one of Russia's most vital military air bases, which is now facing renewed threats, the Engels Airbase, situated in the Saratov region. This base, along with other strategic locations in the Saratov Oblast, has been of immense importance to Russia's military, particularly as it is home to a number of critical aircraft used in Russia's long-range bombing campaigns. But why is the Saratov region and its Engels Air Base so important to Russia's military operations, and how are they being impacted by the ongoing war? Let's delve into these questions and assess the current situation. But before we get into the analysis, make sure to subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and like this video so you can stay up to date with the latest in military and geopolitical news. In recent developments, reports have emerged of explosions at a major Russian bomber base located in the Saratov region. This base lies 800 kilometers southeast of Moscow, housing some of Russia's most advanced long-range bombers, including the Tu-95 and Tu-160 strategic bombers, which play a pivotal role in Russia's nuclear and conventional strike capabilities. These explosions have been attributed to Ukrainian drone strikes, marking yet another significant escalation in the ongoing conflict between the two nations. Although Russian authorities initially remained tight-lipped about the explosions, local residents took to social media to report hearing the sounds of drones in the sky, suggesting that these attacks were carried out by Ukrainian forces targeting the strategic bomber fleet. A well-known Ukrainian journalist, Andriy Zlenko, also made statements on his Telegram channel, stating that while the exact cause of the explosions was not immediately confirmed, it was highly likely that Ukrainian drones were responsible. Investigations were reportedly still underway, but the timing and location of the strikes led many to believe that Ukraine had launched another successful attack on Russian military infrastructure. The Engels Air Base, also referred to as Engels II, is one of Russia's most important air bases, housing a significant portion of its strategic bomber fleet. According to Ukrainian media reports, explosions were heard near the airbase, which is known for hosting Tu-95 and Tu-160 bombers. Satellite images later emerged that appeared to show 4 Tu-95 MS bombers and 2 Tu-160 strategic bombers parked on the airfield, as well as silhouettes of 2 more Tu-160 bombers near an AN-124 transport aircraft. These bombers, especially the Tu-95MS, are capable of carrying an arsenal of cruise missiles, each capable of delivering devastating strikes against Ukraine or other targets. Although these aircraft rarely fly fully loaded with their maximum payload of 32 cruise missiles, their very presence at the Engels Air Base underscores the strategic importance of the site to Russia's military operations. The appearance of these bombers in satellite images has not only shed light on the recent explosion at the Engels base, but also provided insight into Russia's ongoing strategic planning. Russia's use of its strategic bomber fleet to carry out missile strikes against Ukraine has been well documented, and the deployment of these aircraft at Engels suggests that Moscow is continuing to rely on its air force to maintain its offensive against Ukraine. The fact that Ukrainian forces have demonstrated the capability to strike at Russian air bases deep inside Russian territory raises serious concerns for Moscow, as even air bases that were once considered out of reach, such as the Olenya Air Base on the Kola Peninsula, have come under attack. Russia's decision to concentrate so many of its strategic bombers at a single location, such as Engels, rather than dispersing them across multiple air bases, has raised eyebrows. Normally, in times of heightened conflict, it is standard military procedure to disperse strategic assets to reduce the risk of catastrophic losses from a single attack. However, as satellite images have shown, this is not always feasible for Russia. Many of Russia's air bases, such as Olenya, lack the capacity to host the entire strategic bomber fleet, forcing Moscow to keep its aircraft concentrated at key bases like Engels. In response to these challenges, Russia has resorted to unconventional measures to protect its bombers. One of the more unusual defense tactics employed by Russian forces has been placing car tires on top of their bombers' wings and fuselages. This peculiar method was first observed at the Engels Airbase in the fall of 2023, when images surfaced showing Tu-95 and Tu-160 bombers covered with car tires. At first glance, this tactic seemed perplexing to military analysts and observers alike. But what could the Russians hope to achieve by placing car tires on these multi-million-dollar aircraft? Initially, it was speculated that the tires were being used to minimize the impact of shrapnel or debris from nearby explosions, in the event that the base was attacked by drones or missiles. However, this theory was quickly dismissed, as the fuselage and tail sections of the aircraft remained completely exposed, suggesting that the tires would do little to shield the bombers from a direct hit. Further speculation suggested that the tires might be intended to reduce the thermal signature of the aircraft, making them harder to detect by enemy drones equipped with infrared sensors. The logic here was that the tires might absorb heat, thereby masking the aircraft's heat signature. Yet this idea was also questioned, as rubber tires tend to retain heat longer than the aluminum fuselage of an aircraft, potentially making the bombers even more visible to infrared cameras. More recently, new theories have emerged regarding Russia's use of car tires on its bombers. During a live-streamed roundtable on artificial intelligence hosted by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, Sky Lamore, the CTO of CENTC, proposed an interesting explanation. According to Lamore, Russia may be using the tires as a way to confuse the guidance systems of incoming missiles or drones. Many modern munitions use computer vision to identify targets based on their shape or outline. By placing tires on the wings and bodies of their bombers, the Russians might be attempting to distort the shape of the aircraft, thereby preventing the munitions from accurately recognizing them as targets. Lamore noted that this tactic could potentially disrupt the final stages of a missile's guidance, especially for missiles that rely on infrared or visual seekers to home in on their targets. Additionally, there are reports that Russia has employed other deceptive tactics to protect its aircraft, such as painting silhouettes of planes on runways to mislead incoming missiles. However, the use of tires on actual bombers raises significant questions. The wings and fuselages of these aircraft are not designed to carry heavy loads, and placing large tires on them could potentially cause damage to sensitive systems. Given the considerable weight and expense of these strategic bombers, such measures seem drastic and potentially damaging. Russia's reliance on these makeshift defenses reflects broader concerns about the state of its air defense systems. In the early stages of the conflict, Russian air defenses were considered some of the most formidable in the world. Western Russia, in particular, was believed to be among the most well-protected airspaces on the planet. However, Ukraine's ability to penetrate these defenses and carry out repeated strikes on Russian air bases has called this assessment into question. The degradation of Russia's air defense capabilities has become increasingly apparent as the war progresses, with each successful Ukrainian attack serving as a reminder of the growing vulnerabilities in Russia's military infrastructure. For instance, in July 2023, Ukraine successfully struck a major bridge, causing significant damage to a key transportation link used by Russian forces. Despite Russian claims that the attack only caused minor damage to roadways, the aftermath showed a much greater impact on Russian supply lines. Following this attack, Ukraine pledged to continue targeting Russian infrastructure, including the Kerch Strait Bridge, a critical link between Russia and the annexed Crimean Peninsula. Since the bridge was first damaged in 2022, Russia has scrambled to fortify its defenses, constructing underwater barriers and other protective measures. Nonetheless, Ukraine's continued ability to strike deep inside Russian territory represents a significant shift in the dynamics of the war. The Engels Airbase is just one of many Russian assets that have come under attack, and as the conflict drags on, the question remains, will Russia be able to protect its strategic assets from future Ukrainian strikes? As Ukrainian forces grow increasingly adept at targeting key military infrastructure, Russia finds itself in a race against time to shore up its defenses and prevent further losses.